Christopher Columbus found America in 1492. Communism is bad. We only use 10% of our brain. Napoleon was short. And Benjamin Franklin founded electricity. All of these statements are statements that we have all learned as children growing up. But why learn this if it's not actually fact? Why learn it to later debunk that fact in the curriculum later? In today's speech, I want my audience to evaluate our nation's school system and how it affects students. To evaluate is to make an appraisal by weighing the strengths and limitations of an object or subject. Following the curriculum is annoying. In class, we have to relearn certain things because other students have not learned it. Teachers will often say, "You should have learned this in 6th grade," which is, to say the least, annoying. The curriculum should help this problem. However, it just multiplies the fact that people haven't learned it. Students try to follow the curriculum strictly, so they end up glossing over facts or skipping over it, or not teaching certain stuff the way it needs to be taught the first time rather than the second time. Learning history correctly from the get-go would be more efficient in learning. Why learn that Christopher Columbus founded America if we already knew that he did not actually find America? Why teach it later that he found America? Instead of teaching that Christopher Columbus found America, schools should either teach that he founded the Bahamas and not the Americas, or just wait to teach it correctly later in the curriculum. Doing this will save time and extra effort when teaching our students. Having less officers will overall increase the well-being of students. Less officers would increase the pay and numbers of school nurses and school counselors. Having an increased number of school nurses and counselors would increase the mental well-being of students and overall their physical well-being. Personally, my high school had to share a nurse with our local middle school. So if anything were to go down at the middle school, they have to wait for our nurse to get on their campus. In 2019 to present, WTOC has expressed their concern about the lack of nurses in our school system, but not officers. We've never had a shortage of officers. Though officers are vital to the well-being and health of students on campus, the mental well-being of students is more vital. CBS News states, by the end of 2019, there were 417 mass shootings in the U.S., according to the data from the nonprofit Gun Violence Archive, GVA. Many of these shootings were school shootings. Many school shootings are a direct result from bullying and stress from testing. Having an increase in support systems throughout school could often decrease the stress and decrease shootings overall. The system could also find a way, and the support system could also find better ways to look at warning signs, and the support could just make school feel like an overall safer place. Less testing. Testing, especially during finals week, is very stressful. Students having to pass an exam to determine their intelligence is overall outdated. It has been proven that standardized testing cannot accurately determine one's intelligence. But through a combination of a student and teacher evaluation, students and teachers can decide if a student is ready to say that they correctly mastered a class. Everyone learns at a different pace. An article from St. Petersburg College states, an exam cannot correctly measure a student's intelligence by only testing certain parts of their education. A student who has a weak spot in science and math but excels in many other subjects will receive below average test scores and be perceived as below average. Is this fair? No, right? It's just outdated. To sum up the strengths and limitations of our nation's school system, we need to see how we see that it works. We see that many students go through the curriculum without going through that many stress or having to be a school shooter, and they thrive. But just because something works does not mean it cannot be improved and innovated. So, solutions. Schools should adopt a Montessori school system. To be Montessori school is to be a system of education for young children that seeks to develop natural interests and activities rather through formal teachings. Personally, I have attended a Montessori school from kindergarten to 3rd grade, and their teachings were always hands-on and everything was just so much fun. I learned cursive. I learned a lot about Frederick Douglass and his important roles in history. I learned about climate change, and we had our own garden with compost and nature. It was just fun. We did have standardized testing, however, but it was always based on our top 3 interests. We opened the computer and we picked our top 3 best subjects, our top 3 interests, and we tested out of those. As for the final takeaway, I'm not saying that every school should be a Montessori school, but I am saying that every school should adopt some form of a hands-on or informal way of learning to keep stress minimum. They should adopt new teaching methods, have a better support system, and teach history more effectively. Thank you.